control. Politicians and celebrities make deals behind closed doors, promises broken, and their income soars. Hidden agendas run the grand parade. In the circus, choose a masquerade. Believe me, I wouldn't lie. I've been given money, power, and fame to keep you in line.
Welcome, D-Gens, for another Saturday chaos stream. Today, we'll be talking about conspiracies related to your oral health and like how did our ancestors have perfect teeth without dentists, braces, or toothpaste? And when did all this happen and why did it happen? So we're going to get into that today. I am... And are you talking about the movie where the chick has teeth in her hoo-ha? Is that what you're talking about here?
Yes.
Yes. I saw like a clip of that. Like I know what it's about. It was funny.
How would she brush them, Kat? You would need a dildo with brush bristles on it, I'm guessing.
Yeah. I think
a bottle brush cleaner.
Lord.
A round one that gets all of them. How would you floss down there?
I think you can use a water pick, I would say. It'd be hard to get two hands up in there. I mean, I guess it could be done depending on the woman, but...
So many questions.
Mm-hmm. We may never know.
Do you think you'd get wisdom teeth in your vagina if you had that condition?
I mean, why wouldn't you? I feel like, yeah, that would just be part of the set, right? You'd get like wisdom, the gene. Anyways, let's move on. So let's start first with the toothbrushing stuff. And then we can talk about other topics that I want to talk about too, but they're not long enough for like a whole episode. Anything you want to talk about first, Damon? How's everything going with you?
All good. Move along.
Oh, okay. Let's do it.
Let's get through this.
Okay. In this episode, we're going to talk about the toothpaste lie that nobody questions. Everybody thinks this has always been. You talk to any kid, they're like, yeah, there's always been toothpaste. Neanderthals probably had toothpaste, right? And why gum recession is reversible. How to do that. We'll get into that. How did ancient humans even clean their teeth? And what are the real causes of cavities? Is it really sugar or sugar alone? And how can you rebuild your smile naturally? Like how they used to do it in the old times. What did we used to do? Okay. So let's talk first about how humans used to keep their teeth clean, and then we'll get into all the psyops. So number one is diet. Have you heard about Winston Price?
Yes.
I believe that was his name. Yeah. So we all have heard about this guy, traveled around indigenous cultures. They all had perfect teeth. And what he noticed was the second one processed food was introduced into the diet, all the teeth got ruined. All it took was one specific food item. For some places, it would be like processing wheat or something like that into bread, or processing corn, or processing some sort of something. Something came into them that wasn't natural, and then this happened. So let's see. What did they used to eat, right? In the old times, they would have raw, unprocessed, mineral-rich foods. Things like meats, especially organs, wild plants. There's many plants, especially herbs. We don't mean like vegetables and stuff like that, but there's lots of herbal plants that are really rich in minerals. And then also eating bones. You can like boil them down. You can eat the bones. and then fermented stuff. So that's like a natural human diet. And the number one thing that they always say is it's just sugar. It's like there was no sugar in the diet before, blah, blah, blah. There's also no seed oils. There was no grains that were stripped of nutrients. When we did get grains ancestrally, they had to be stone ground fresh and then baked that day. So what happens is wheat naturally, if you have the full berry and it's made regeneratively, like how we used to make things, everything was, it would have vitamins and minerals in it, but they denature very rapidly. And to process things, to make commercial stuff quicker, faster, blah, 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 make your life so-called easier, they took all the parts of the wheat and they separated out the stuff that went spoiled, that needed to be freshly ground, and they got rid of it. And then if you also get like commercial grinders now, some of them they're not stone ground. And the stone grinding keeps temperature low so that it doesn't heat away a lot of the nutrients. So there were ways that we can eat things like breads without having health problems. And in fact, you could literally live off of bread and water if it was done properly. Thank you, Imperius. Appreciate you. Holy
Is he wrong, Kat? No, I'm joking.
Okay. All right. The next thing was people would chew, which I know that's like sounds crazy. Like, oh, we chew. But I'm not talking about like chewing plastic bubble gum or some crap. I'm talking about actually chewing your food. Now everything is like the meat is even fall off the bone tender, or there's process, like how they age the meat makes it softer, or when they process the meat and now you got like cold cuts, or I don't know what you would call it, deli type meats. Those are just like mush. There's no bones in it. Everybody's eating mushy. Or you make burger meat and it's all mushy. You don't have to really chew anything. Everything is just like hyper processed, and softened, and perfect for babies. And we're losing our ability to chew. And if you chew mechanically, that would help your teeth, not only like your teeth, but your jaw grow properly, your face develop properly. Oh my God. Yes. Jeez. Anyways, the next is people used to chew on bark, like twigs and stuff, especially from neem trees. There's something called, I don't know if I'm saying this correctly. It's called miswak or something like that. It's like the neem, whatever. And the bark had natural antibacterial properties. So it would just chew on that all day and it would help clean their teeth. And when it would break down like the plaque and everything. All right. The next is they would make, like in olden times, they would make like a powder of sometimes charcoal, salt, ash, clay, a whole bunch of different things depending on where you are in the world, maybe some herbs and whatever, and they would use that as a powder to clean the teeth. And then there was many cultures such as like an Indian Ayurvedic culture, like they would have oil pulling. So they would either get sesame or a coconut oil or some other type of oil. Maybe they would mix herbs and stuff like that into it, and they would just swish it around and suck it between the teeth to dislodge any debris. And also the stuff that they would add to it would help remineralize and kill any bacteria, but not too much that you're ruining the fauna flora of your microbiome in the mouth. Ancient civilizations like the Babylonians and the early Chinese used twigs or horsehair to clean between their teeth. Indigenous tribes and rural populations use fibers from plants. Even porcupine quills would sound, yes, sure, they can use each other's pubes or whatever. Or
you finish going down on a girl and you just have some stuck in your teeth and you just floss with it. I'm not joking. That's what they did.
I mean, maybe. Okay. Also, wooden slivers. They could use that just like any little piece. I mean, that's...
Oh, gross. Like a splinter.
Yes, a splinter. Get a
Oh,
splinter and like
gross.
pick stuff out.
Ugh.
What? That's not gross. It's totally fine.
You get a fucking splinter stuck in your gum. Gross.
It's better than the microplastics that we have now. And then in the early 1800s, a
Nobody
New
goes,
Orleans, what?
no kid runs to their mum and goes, Mom, I've got a microplastic stuck in my finger. Get it out. That doesn't hurt. Fucking splinters are a bastard.
A toothpick. Yes. Wooden slivers would also be known as toothpicks. That's right. You don't use toothpicks? Oh my gosh.
We used toothpicks, but nobody had a fucking toothpick back then.
They were primitive toothpicks.
It
It's the
wasn't
same
made
thing.
all nice like that. Yeah.
You could just like grind it like on a rock or something and make it smooth. Anyways.
I know people used to use like fibrous plants. They used to literally like scrape back the fibers so it was like a brush. They did that with coconut fibers as well, because there were those tribes that ate coconut and pineapple, and they made like a mash of coconut and pineapple, which gave them really white, sparkling teeth.
Mhm.
Did you hear about that one?
No, but I'd imagine, yeah.
Some guy got rich because he based like a toothpaste off of what this tribe was eating, and it
Mhm.
was basically like some kind of like ground up coconut, like dried coconut mixed with pineapple pulp, and it apparently got like the teeth super fucking white. Not because of not like whitening toothpaste that use abrasives
Yeah.
so that your teeth are fucked, but they look really shiny because the light reflects of all the little abrasions. But like it naturally cleans out all the shit from the surface enamel, like pulls all the shit out.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that was one, but they used the fibrous part of the dry part of the coconut, like when they left it out to dry, they used that as a little brush to apply it. Like that was apparently like miraculous when this dude discovered this tribe, and he wondered like why their oral health was so good.
Yeah. And the first floss that ever came out was in the early 1800s in New Orleans. And it was a dentist that recommended silk thread to clean between the teeth. And that's the earliest known modern floss. And now we have like a resurgence of silk floss coming back because we're realizing all the modern floss is super toxic and causes not only like hormone problems, obesity problems, because all of the microplastics and all that stuff, they're finding it now like
Careful, cat.
what?
Careful.
Why?
Don't give fat people an excuse. They're gonna be, oh, no, it's not the shit that I eat. It's that I'm like super like eager when it comes to flossing my teeth. It's the floss that's making me fat. It's like, no, it's not. Nobody got obese from flossing their teeth, cat. Let's be honest.
Well, I mean, it's not the only reason, but it can lead you to hormonal balances, which makes it more difficult. Oh my God, Simperius. My arms are my arms. Deal with them. Anyways. And the next is when you were young, did you have to like do like what was it, like 50 chews of the meat on each side of the jaw before you swallowed? Was that a thing that you guys learned too, or is that just my time?
That I think was your time. Were they
Okay.
rationing the meat still?
No, we were not rationing the meats. We were just told that you had to do this. And it was like, you'd ask them why. They're like, I don't know why anymore. And now thinking back, it was probably to fix the teeth in the jaw. That's the only
It
thing
was
that
because
makes
of the
sense.
rationing. It made it
No,
feel like you were eating more food than what you actually had. It was like, it's the war, cat. It's the great war. We've only got a little bit of meat. Suck on it. Let it dissolve in your mouth.
Jesus, no. No, I think they were onto something, and it was definitely about like you wanted to not do it on one side because then you'd have one side of your jaw overdeveloped, and the other side they wanted to make sure it was even, so that your teeth would grow in evenly. Anyways, Right. And then commercial toothpaste was sold in the 1800s, but it often contained soap. So you would really want to spit that out as soon as possible. It was probably like really gross and disgusting and wasn't very popular because of the fact that it was actual soap. And then in 1873, Colgate mass-produced toothpaste in jars and then finally in tubes. And again, when that came out, nobody wanted to use it because they're just like, what is this junk? I already have like my tooth powders, my silk floss, my, twigs or whatever I'm using. So like, they're like, we don't need this stuff. So then they got this guy, Edward Bernays, and he is the nephew of Sigmund Freud. And he's also known as like a PR master, like one of the first pioneers of public relations. And he helped to popularize daily brushing by linking it to health, beauty, and somehow patriotism, right? Good citizens brush their teeth was the thing. Oh my God, St. Paris. Anyways. And then later on, fluoride was added, not for your health, of course, but because it was a byproduct of the aluminum industry. So there is a naturally occurring fluoride, but it's not the same that you get as the industry byproduct. But they decided to, pay off some dentists to say that it's really good or whatever. And then it became just like the norm. So they didn't have to pay for the toxic waste disposal. So it saves the industry a lot of money. And they got to sell it to the cities, so they even made more money. So instead of like losing money, properly disposing something, they made a profit. So that was a big win for them. Anyways, let's see. So people had the silk floss in the early 1800s, but then in World War II, silk became super scarce because they need to make parachutes and military stuff and whatever. So that's when DuPont made a cheap, durable, mass-producible alternative called nylon. Oh my gosh. Anyways, so nylon became a huge business and it replaced silk, and it was marketed as stronger, stretch resistant, and very modern. It's also way cheaper to produce, but it, of course, is not biodegradable and has, as we know now, PUFAs. So plastic coatings and convenience. Company started adding Teflon-like coatings called PFAS for the glide feel. That waxy feel is not actually wax. It is a plastic Teflon like coating, and zero sustainability, hyper toxic, completely made from plastic, complete petrochemical junk, right? So now, because we are starting to realize it's not recyclable, it's plastic based, endocrine disruptors full, they shed microplastic. Microplastics are being found in the brain and all sorts of organs. So now people are going back to silk floss, but they're adding other fibers like bamboo fiber, corn fiber, or a charcoal infused thread. Mysterious thread.
Did you see the latest number on a study of how much microplastics in the human body?
I do not remember, but I remember that they found, I think it was like a tablespoon or something in the brain.
A teaspoon, yeah.
Teaspoon.
A whole teaspoon of microplastics in your brain. It's kind of fucked.
Yeah, and I did hear that when they tested corpses just from like, I think it was like before 2020 to after 2020, it went up like 30% or 50% or something ridiculous. So by now, who knows what we got floating around in us, like tons.
Well, there's other stuff that we did to fuck ourselves up way more than microplastics. Like,
well, of course.
Well, if you look at the human DNA post the 1940s, was it? I can't remember.
Hmm.
If you look at any human beings prior to this certain event, and then you look at the DNA after this certain event, we've literally mutated. We're no longer what would be recognized as human DNA.
What was the event? What are you talking about?
The introduction of DDT,
DDT.
the pesticide.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So DDT actually mutated the human genome, and it got into everything. It
Yeah.
got into the atmosphere, it got into the water supply, and even the most remote tribes that haven't interacted with humanity, with the rest of humanity, when they found those tribes, when they tested them, they found that even they had
Mhm.
that DNA mutation via DDT. So we still haven't fully mapped the human genome and understood everything that's in it to such a degree to understand what that mutation actually did to us and in what exact way it's affected us. So we don't quite know what the major differences are, but we know that it's not the same as it was prior to that. The other big thing that they're saying now, because apparently you have like a lot of independent researchers looking into it, is how the RNA poke
Mhm.
that many people got recently, how that's affecting offspring as well.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. Definitely, I think they've been poisoning us for a long time. And a lot of it is just greed, sure, but I think some of the other parts are just like could be deliberate. Maybe like they're just I don't know if they're trying to get rid of their waste products and they don't care about what happens. I mean, that could be. It could just be like they're just negligent or they're just like this is cheap and easy and we're going to make money and we don't want to know the downstream effects. I don't know. It seems like it's very coordinated, but then there's definitely people who are greedy and will just go ahead and do things not caring about the consequences. A lot of people that like are, they're psychopaths or they don't have children. They don't like their children or they're just like, I don't care. Whatever. They'll figure it out. Good luck.
Well, let's not forget that people allowed themselves to people allowed to have stuff marketed to them for the fucking dumbest reasons. So, like, I mean, Harvey Kellogg, right? Sorry,
Yes,
John
yes.
Harvey Kellogg, right?
Yeah.
And he was when he invented he was a physician. He was also part of what was called the advocates of the progressive movement back then. Well-known businessman. A lot of people, I think, said that he was also like a health secretary, but he wasn't really. But he had a position similar to that,
Mm-hmm.
and he was like a very good self-promoter. But part of the reason why, he pushed two major things on
Mm-hmm.
Americans. Do you know what it was?
Corn?
Cornflakes.
Cornflakes? I don't remember the other
Cornflakes.
one.
That was one.
Uh-huh.
The other one was circumcisions.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So the whole
Mm-hmm.
reason why everybody's like, if you look at most of the West, white people that are not religious, right,
Mm-hmm.
don't get
Yes.
circumcised. If you leave America, any white people you meet, highly unlikely they're circumcised unless they're Jewish, right?
Yeah.
Highly unlikely. But if you ever like go to America, like it's very uncommon for dudes to not be circumcised. And the whole reason is you guys have got a private healthcare industry that makes a shit ton of money every time somebody has an operation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And they know that the moment a kid's born, if they say to you, hey, do you want a kid circumcised? Right? Everybody does it. He'll look weird if he doesn't have it.
Mm-hmm.
The parents are like, yeah, go for it. Go for it. Do it. And that's a shit ton of money for the hospital. And you might think, oh, it doesn't cost that much, but every fucking boy being born is having it done. It costs a shit. It makes them fucking rich. It keeps them in business. And the way he marketed that, do you know the way he marketed it? The way he actually brought it in, the big con?
So that you won't touch yourself as much.
Yes.
Yes.
And it was the same way he marketed cornflakes. Because the cereals that kids were eating at the time, he was saying contained lots of sugar. And he said, oh, you think it's giving your kids energy throughout the day, but what it's doing them is it's making them hyperactive. And what it's doing is it's making boys hyperactive and easily distractible. And what they'll do if they get it when they get through the age of puberty is that extra sugar, those cereals that you're feeding your kids, is making them masturbate. That's what he told parents. So he said if you give them cornflakes, it'll give them energy without any sugar, and it prevents them from masturbating. And then when parents are like, no, my kid's still like choking it like a fucking maniac, it's like, okay, we're going to chop that bit of skin off and he won't enjoy it anymore because you're going to remove shit tons of nerve endings. So it won't be pleasurable for the kid. So that's how he marketed those two things. And people believed it because if anybody with a title behind their name, anybody with a doctor there, just people believed. Everybody believed it. And like you said, the be a good citizen thing, that's partly what it was. It was that moral outrage that people had back then because they were also kind of like, repressed and like, no, we can't have our kid touching himself. Like you think about it, you'd surgically mutilate your kid just because you don't want him touching himself.
Beautiful. But the truth was that corn makes you estrogenic. I thought it was specifically because it made you estrogenic and it lowered
that isn't how he
testosterone.
marketed it. That isn't how he marketed it. People back then wouldn't have understood that shit. He just said, these cereals have sugar. Your kids are going to get hyperactive. The sugar's going to make them very excitable and they're going to be frustrated and need to let that energy out. And if they're a boy, they're going to start playing with themselves. So give them a boring cereal to make them too depressed to wank.
Yes. So moving back to floss, get one. The only ones that I recommend are silk. Don't get bamboo. Don't get corn fiber. Don't get charcoal infused bullshit. Get silk coated if you want with, I think it's called Candelia wax. I'm probably saying it wrong, but something like that. No PFAS, no plastic. That's the best floss. So as far as floss goes, that's where you want to get. Okay. Moving on to mouthwash. How did that happen? Why did it happen? Ancient Egyptians, like 1500 BCE, they used to rinse with vinegar, salt, and different herbs to clean the teeth and the gums. In traditional Chinese medicine, they use tea rinses, salt water, herbal decoctions to kill bacteria and freshen the breath. The Romans and the Greeks, they used urine because ammonia, and it actually is scientifically sound, sort of. So, yeah, pee. And then
so you let Steve pee in your mouth before you go to bed?
No, that's something Conspiracies is doing. He's trying to help his girlfriend's oral health. See, that's why he's such a good freak. Anyways, in India,
but you can't. It doesn't work if you've got shit tons of STDs, simp. Don't pee in a mouth with all that shit that you've got going on.
Yes. So in India, they use, again, oil pulling with sesame or coconut oil and rinses that they made from neem, clove, and licorice root. You can still do those things. You don't have to get toxic junk. Okay. When did things become commercialized and your teeth start falling out? This is Listerine. In 1879, Dr. Joseph Lawrence marketed it as a surgical antiseptic and later a floor cleaner. And then finally, it became a mouthwash. In the 1920s, it got a rebrand and it started targeting halitosis, bad breath, which was not even a condition, wasn't anything people like really, I guess, talked about. So they made it a medical problem just to sell the Listerine. And we all know bad breath does not come from your mouth unless maybe you have a tonsil stone, which you can pick that out with like a water pick or something, or just get like a Q-tip and go squeeze it out if you have those. I don't get those, but a lot of people do get tonsil stones. So deal with it that way. But, you know, all you really needed if you had bad breath was to fix the gut microbiome. So that's like fermented food, fix your diet, get some more herbs in your diet, get some more like teas and stuff like that, fix it. A lot of ginger, that would fix your bad breath. Or if you have a sinus infection, that can give you bad breath because the postnasal drip, fix your allergies, fix, don't mouth breathe through your nose, blah, 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 blah. So.
Sounded like you said mouth breed.
Yes, breed in
the
your
first
mouth.
time around.
Yes. So. Most commercial mouthwashes now, they have alcohol, chlorhexidine, synthetics, dyes, and synthetic flavors, and they completely will strip your microbiome in your mouth. They will cause dry mouth. Dry mouth is a leading cause of cavities because the one thing, we'll get into that, but
Chlorhexidine discolors your teeth as well.
So no good things. Anyways, and it, you know, and it has been linked to nitric oxide production, which is bad for heart health. I don't know. I need nitric oxide, I feel like. Isn't that what's in beets? Or that's something else? Anyways. So, huh?
I said, I don't know. I'm not sure about the nitric oxide.
Okay. So, better mouthwash options are salt water. This is classic. It's anti-inflammatory. It balances your pH. Oil pulling removes bacteria, whitens your teeth, and heals your gums. Green tea or black tea as a rinse. Now, obviously, the black tea will stain your teeth, but it still reduces plaque and it's antibacterial. Just stick to green tea. Stick to green tea because you don't want to stain them. Diluted hydrogen peroxide every now and then is okay, especially if you feel like a little something between your teeth or whatever, a little cavity coming in or if something's going on, something got stuck and you didn't notice it. It's antibacterial and it's whitening, but you use it too much and too strong, it can lower your, what's it called? The enamel. So that's bad. Makes your enamel porous, likely to chip off. So don't do it too much. And there's herbal infusions like sage, myrrh, clove especially, and thyme. Get those, make a tea, and use that as a mouthwash. These are just amazing things you can do. Super easy at home. Anybody can make tea, I'm assuming. Okay. So. Let's see. I already talked about halitosis. Okay, dry mouth. Saliva is your body's natural rinse system, and it is how your body remineralizes your teeth. All right, so keep your saliva by not mouth breathing. So we can, in modern times, we can mouth tape. Don't stay dehydrated. Make sure you get your electrolytes, drink water, whatever, spring water. Medications like antihistamines, antidepressants, and a whole bunch of other medications dry out your mucous membranes and your saliva. So like you need to avoid those. And if saliva drops, then bacteria goes up and everything is going to be more problems. And when you're sleeping, keeping your mouth open is one of the main causes of morning breath. So close your mouth. Then you can do the Ayurvedic thing of tongue scraping. I don't know how good that is or different than just brushing your tongue with a toothbrush, but it's a thing you can do. That's fine. Let's see. I already talked about tonsil stones. Okay, acid reflux. That is from low stomach acid or slow stomach acid. So that means there's some sort of dysfunction where by the time your food is in your stomach and leaves to, whatever your other intestines or whatever and passes, it misses. Like the acid doesn't happen when you need it. It happens slower. So the food has passed and then the acid comes in. It's too slow. So then the acid goes up and it creates problems. And that's when it makes your teeth kind of like rot, your mouth dry. You get like a cough, burning, all that stuff.
There's two major modern reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Like the problem with this is that a lot of the studies, a lot of the studies focus on what's been discovered earlier and then retested for and proven to still be a relevant reason. And it ignores some of the societal changes. We are eating later and later and later in the day now. People are working longer hours, they're coming home late, and they eat right before bed. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that a lot of people say, no, that's not the reason. Eating, it doesn't matter when you eat. It's okay. It's bullshit. This nonsense about not eating before you go to sleep is garbage. It's not true. It is true.
Yeah.
It is true, especially when it comes to acid reflux.
Mm-hmm.
There is a reason why they tell you not to eat before you go for an operation.
Yes.
And sometimes people believe that it's got something to do with, it's going to affect the drugs that you're taking. You can't take those drugs when you've had food. It's bullshit. It doesn't have anything to do with that. The reason why you can't eat before an operation is because you're going to aspirate. When they give you the anesthetic drugs, it causes all kinds of depression, right? You have respiratory depression, cardiovascular depression. It slows down a lot of your muscles. Muscle tension goes down. And when all of that muscle relaxes, especially around the oropharynx, the upper airway, the glottis, the epiglottis, basically what happens is the sphincter in your gut relaxes. All of the stomach acid goes up into your esophagus and it goes into the back of your throat, and then it runs down your trachea into your lungs. And then you've got stomach acid in your lungs, which is going to cause a lot of problems. That's why you can't eat before surgery. And they want you to wait a couple of hours. You need to fast for a good few hours before surgery because they want to make sure that your stomach is basically empty. And there's very little, if anything, that's going to come up and potentially end up in your lungs.
Mm-hmm.
If you have to have emergency surgery, they need to go through all this shit of intubating you, blocking your airway completely, other than having your breathing tube there. They inflate a balloon in there. It's a lot more kind of traumatic to the airway to try and keep your lungs safe. So if you are going to eat a shit ton of food before going to bed, as Kat said, you're going to have excess stomach acid being produced to break that shit down. And you've got 3 different striated layers of muscle in your stomach to churn your food up. And that's going to be working while you're asleep. And you're going to have your gut squeezing and churning all this fucking stomach acid while you're asleep. And your upper airway is quite relaxed. And depending on how much you've eaten, it's quite likely that that's going to end up in the back of your throat. And you might not even know. Most people don't know that they have acid reflux when they sleep. They don't know it.
Yeah, most people have like a cough if they talk too much, and that's reflux. It's very tiny. Tiny.
Yeah, but so many people wake up and they're like, oh God, and they think it's morning breath. They'll say, oh, I've got morning breath. It's that sour thing. No, if your saliva tastes sour in the morning, that's acid reflux.
Mm-hmm.
and you don't know it. And a lot of people who have poor oral hygiene and they go to the dentist, and the dentist's like, your enamel's like wearing away, and they don't know why. It's because you've got acid reflux and you never knew about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it can cause all kinds of problems. It can cause long-term bacterial issues. Sorry. I swallowed the tablet funny.
Okay.
Yeah, I just need to drink something.
Yeah, so let's see. The other reasons you can get bad breath could be a sluggish liver or a slow gallbladder. You can get like a rotten smell from within. And for those, I always recommend Tudka. So look up stuff that can aggravate your liver and gallbladder. And if you notice that around like certain foods that do that, then I would just take Tudka. Like you probably have like a hard time digesting fats. Another thing is if you take a lot of fats and you have to run to the bathroom, that means your gallbladder is like needs help. So take Tudka with all fatty foods forever, period. And there's other, what's it called? Ox bile and Tudka, I think, are my favorite ones. There's some other like enzymes. I don't think they do anything. I only see any benefit from Tudka and ox bile. No other digestive enzymes really do much. All right. And then let's see. Hormone changes. So during menstruation, pregnancy, menopause, you have an oral pH and bacteria shift, and this can trigger temporary bad breath. So like women once a month will have bad breath around when they have their period. Or if they're pregnant, the whole time they have their period, their whole time they have their pregnancy, they have bad breath. A lot of women will actually, for the first time, get tons of cavities and oral problems while they're pregnant because of the pH shift from the hormones. So I think it's like estrogen that keeps your mouth and your mucous membranes moist. So whenever there's like a low estrogen or the progesterone is like way too high to the estrogen, that's when these fluid issues can happen for chicks. Also medications, blood pressure, antidepressants, chemo, all these things and millions more reduce saliva. So that will cause dental problems. Diseases like diabetes, you'll have like a sweet breath. It'll be like kind of fruity. Kidney disease, you'll have a fishy breath. Or liver failure, you'll have like a musty, sweet odor. There's different ones for different problems. So anytime you have like a weird breath going on, you need to figure that out. Not just like think it's normal, because you're not supposed to have that.
The other thing that you just said there when you mentioned diabetes, obviously not always, but sometimes linked to obesity if it's type 2 diabetes. Obesity is the second major factor for acid reflux. So like obviously when you're sleeping, you got all of that internal pressure that's pressing down on your gut, increasing the likelihood that you're going to aspirate, that you're going to basically vomit while you're sleeping. So that's another big one. Like the two major ones, if you want to kind of reduce your likelihood of acid reflux while you're asleep, is especially if you have obesity, is lose the weight. Lose the weight is going to reduce the likelihood of you aspirating in your sleep and getting that acid reflux. And don't eat like usually if you're going to bed at around 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, last meal by 6 o'clock. So that your gut's empty before you go to sleep.
They told us here like 4 hours before bed, don't eat, but I think it's 5. I definitely think it's 5. It's not 4. Maybe you can get away with like maybe a tea or something stupid and small, but like you need 5 hours of nothing before you go to sleep. Because even if you go to sleep and you think you're sleeping, if you actually check, you don't reach deep REM sleep, which is the restorative one. So you don't get like memory problems, dementia, it's more anti-aging to reach deep sleep. And if you miss that, you're going to age much faster and it's going to be bad for everything. So you need to sleep and your body needs to digest before it can even think about sleeping. Like
So,
a
Kat,
deep sleep.
you just said something there, and we're supposed to be talking about conspiracy theories about toothpaste.
Yeah.
So,
Uh-huh.
what other big conspiracy theories do you have to say? Anything?
What do you mean?
Well, most people are probably wondering about it, and
Mhm.
you just touched on REM sleep right now.
Yeah. You don't think deep sleep is real?
No, I do think deep sleep is real, but what
Okay.
regulates your sleep,
The circadian rhythm?
and what controls your circadian rhythms?
Light?
More importantly than that, to do with your brain, I'm talking about.
I don't know. Your eyes? I don't
You know what?
know.
Do you know what hormones?
Okay. Yeah. Hormones. All of them are connected. So it's not
Which
like
one?
really
Which one? Melatonin, right?
melatonin. Yes.
And what produces melatonin? What part of your
Darkness.
brain?
Uh, I don't know.
The
HP
pituitary
axis.
gland.
Okay. Pituitary. Okay.
So the pituitary gland is what a lot of people are saying, and it's been proven that fluoride accumulates in your pituitary gland.
No, that's the pineal gland. That's not the pituitary. Is that the same thing?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, yeah, I said it wrong. Sorry. Yeah, pineal gland, the pineal gland that produces melatonin. It still produces the melatonin. That's the pineal gland, and it regulates your sleep and the circadian rhythms. So yeah, no, I didn't mean pituitary. Obviously, yeah, it's pineal, but the pineal gland is where fluoride accumulates,
Yes.
and over time, as you get older, the pineal gland calcifies to some degree.
Mhm.
Fluoride has an affinity for calcium, so it binds to
Mhm.
calcium, so it accumulates in the pineal gland,
Yes.
and then it doesn't produce melatonin the way it should.
And then you can't sleep, and then you break down, and then
And,
you become
and this
demented.
is why this is why you had those original rumors that you had all of these kind of people at the top of society that were like involved in what's being kind of fed to the masses, and they were deliberately putting fluoride in water and deliberately putting fluoride in toothpaste and other shit because they wanted to basically fuck us up by preventing our pineal gland from functioning properly, because they
Yeah.
obviously, like historically, the pineal gland is the major part of the brain that pretty much every tribe that understood anything about human biology, every ancestral kind of cults,
Mhm.
secret groups, religions, everything, all talked about the pineal gland without even really knowing what it was, and tried to say that it's where you have the ability for telepathy, for
Yeah.
telekinesis, higher, deeper levels of meditation. It's your third eye. All of
Mhm.
this kind of shit was all related. They were all talking about the pineal gland,
Yes.
and we know that because when they described what it does, the abilities that it gives you, all this kind of stuff. Like, uh, if you listen to people talking about what it's like when your third eye opens, right? And when people spoke about like the ability to kind of essentially meditate and live forever, what they're
Mhm.
actually talking about is your ability to lucid dream.
Mhm.
If you actually listen to the people describing it, they're talking about lucid dreaming. Okay.
Yeah.
And you can actually do lucid dreaming while you're in a state of actually being semi awake. So you can be aware of
Yes.
the world around you and what's going on, but you're also lucid daydreaming.
Yeah.
And when you do that at a very, very, very experienced level, and many lucid dreamers are able to do this, especially because we
Mhm.
understand the mechanism of lucid dreaming today and how to achieve that. Actually, in that state, your brain produces, your brain secretes what is that? It's similar to DMT. I forget now. But
Yeah.
when you have enough of the chemical in your brain that lets you achieve REM sleep, because you can't REM sleep forever.
Yeah.
You only have a limited supply of that. But if your brain is also secreting that DMT like substance, you can essentially dilate time. You don't perceive time in the same way because you have those micro memories that you put down. So it basically feels like time is longer for you. So you have people who lucid dream who, I think if they've been practicing it for even as little as 4 to 6 months, they've achieved the ability to, when they reach that state of lucid dreaming, in the space of 1 hour, they feel like they've experienced 2 weeks of time. And people who've been lucid dreaming for over a year can experience a month or longer. I think it was between 1 to 3 months, and they feel like they've experienced 1 to 3 months of time, and they've experienced it in 1 hour of lucid dreaming. So this is why it's tied to that. This is why those people who meditate, when you look at these yogis who have achieved this great level of wisdom, and everyone's like, wow, they're so wise, it's because whenever they meditate, an hour of meditation or 2 hours or 3 hours of meditation for them could be like,
yeah,
it could feel like months or who knows how long, right?
Yeah.
But when your pineal gland gets fucked, you can't secrete that hormone correctly. You can't produce enough melatonin to get a good amount of REM sleep per night. So the capability they have to do this is very, very, very limited.
I have always been able to do like lucid dreaming, or like before I go to sleep, or like I guess, you just get really quiet, you just kind of like sit up, and then, you just close your eyes and you think about what you want to dream about, and you can like make yourself go there.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know. Huh?
Some people can lucid dream quite easily. Others can't.
Yeah, I definitely don't think it's easy. It's definitely not easy, but like, you have to understand, I was a single child. I had a lot of free time. So I would sit outside. I had like, a bunch of pets, and I'd sit outside in like the garden. It's like beautiful. And I just sit for hours and kind of like close my eyes and just be able to like, I thought I was just like, what's it called? Like fantasizing or daydreaming or whatever. Right. But like, when you think back, it's kind of like you're meditating, like you're not really awake because you don't see what's going on in the world, but you could come quickly out of it, like if you choose to, or if you need to.
Yeah.
It's kind of like meditating.
I never knew what lucid dreaming was until I was, I think, about 13 or 14 years old. And then I had a lucid dream. I knew that I was in a dream. And when I realized that I was in a dream, when I realized that I was dreaming, I was able to kind of control everything in it. And whatever I wanted to, I could control it. It was the weirdest thing ever. But then I woke up, and I tried to kind of get back in that state. Obviously, you want to, but then you can't. You're not able to get back into it. And that's because a lot of people are like, well, how do you lose the ability? Like, you don't want to wake up, you want to stay in it, but you can't go back into it. And that's because you run out of that hormone that lets you experience REM sleep. You can't get into that REM state because you've basically wasted your allowance of REM sleep. So if you want to be able to have a longer period of lucid dreaming and also be more deeply active into it, you need to kind of maintain that mental state and remain in that REM sleep cycle. And especially if you want to dilate the time, you need to prepare your mind to be able to have a lucid dream. And at first I didn't know that. And I had probably about 4 or 5 lucid dreams. But the weird thing is that they started off as nightmares. My lucid dreams always began as nightmares. They were very, very, very fucked up. I had some nasty experience when I was a kid. And every lucid dream started with that. And it was basically me being tortured. And
Yeah.
when a certain thing happened
Mhm.
in that dream, I would so freak out that I would either wake up or I would realize this isn't real. This can't be real. I wouldn't be alive if this happened to me.
Yeah.
And when you realize that this isn't real and you realize you're in a dream, then you can suddenly kind of take control of it and turn it into like a positive dream experience. And then I spoke about it to my friend one time and I was like, yeah, this
Mhm.
is weird. This is weird. And he thought I was bullshitting.
Mhm.
And he told a teacher in school, oh, he's
Mhm.
lying. He's making up these stories. And the teacher said to me, that's a lucid dream. And he
Mhm.
explained what it was. And he gave me a book about it. And I started
Mhm.
reading it. And I was like, wow, this shit's insane. So anybody who isn't able to lucid dream, who's fascinated in it, there's a couple of little things that you can do if you're interested in trying it out. And the two things that really worked for me was, the first thing is write on your hand a note. And on that hand, it will say like, you are awake. Okay. And
Mhm.
force yourself to read it. Every once in a while, look at your hand and read it. But when you read it, focus on each individual letter saying that you are awake, right? Look at the Y, look at the O, look at the individual letters, right? Because a lot of people say you can't read when you're in a dream. And that
Mhm.
isn't technically true, because you can read in a dream, but you can't decipher the individual letters within the words. Your brain will make sense of what you're looking at and you'll think you can read. But the moment you try to look at each individual letter, you'll see that they're not letters. They'll look like weird shapes. They might look at like strange symbols. But you'll think that you can read the words, and that's only because your brain's telling you what you know is written on your hand. The moment you try to actually look at the individual characters, your brain can't create that for you. It will all look like a weird jumbled mess. And if you read what's on your hand regularly throughout the day, like try to tell yourself every half an hour, look at your hand, remind yourself, make it become a habit that you do. And eventually you'll look at your hand and you'll look at it, you'll try to read it, and you'll realize that nothing makes sense. And then you'll realize that you're dreaming. Because that's how you realize, oh shit, at some point I went to bed. And I think in your dream, you're going to be doing your daily shit
Mhm.
and you won't know that you're in a dream state and you'll just be doing stuff. If you remind yourself to do those things, you'll suddenly be aware of, oh, I went to bed at some point and I forgot about that because my brain isn't aware that I went to bed. I'm just processing the shit that I've done throughout the day now. This is my dream time. But now I can kind of have fun and do lucid dream stuff. The other thing is, every day when you wake up, because we don't usually do this because we're too busy with other shit. Every day when you wake up in the morning, try to think about what you can remember from the night. Try to think about if you can remember any of your dreams, because sometimes people can't. And the more you try to think back on, do I remember anything of what just happened now while I was sleeping? If you don't have dream recall, which a lot of people don't have
Mhm.
because their mind is too busy with other shit, the more you try to think about remembering it, the next morning, the morning after, you'll get better at remembering it. So you have to train your mind to be able to have that recall. When you start doing that, your subconscious is going to come better linked to your conscious. You're going to be able to cross that barrier to remember what's happening while I'm sleeping. What was my brain doing while I was sleeping? Do I remember those processes? Do I remember my sleep cycle? Do I remember the dreams that I had? The more you try to think on it, the more easily you'll be able to access those memories. And all of that is going to help your brain function better while you're sleeping so that you can have a better REM sleep cycle, so that you can have more vivid, lucid dreams that you're more in control of. So those two things, think about what you dreamt about, write it down. Try if you write it down, if you have those dream journals and you're writing it down, you're building those neural networks better to be able to access your memories of your dreams. And then remind yourself throughout the day that you're awake. Write on your hand, I am awake. Read those individual letters. If you do it regularly and it becomes a habit, you'll be able to take control and have a lucid dream.
So have you ever, because when I dream, like I heard somewhere, like you're not supposed to tell the people in your dream that you know you're dreaming, that you know it's like not real, because like they can, turn on you or something.
Oh, not that. What it usually does is it collapses the lucid dream if you do that. So like, in reality that you're supposed to kind of fit in with what's going on around you. If you start telling people in your lucid dream that you're dreaming, you're basically breaking the illusion of what's going on, and your brain won't accept it. It will know that things aren't making sense. But you can still do weird, crazy, fantastical shit. Like you can fly around, you can do all that kind of bizarre stuff.
Yeah.
But the moment you start trying to relate to people in a way that your brain won't support the illusion, because you're breaking the illusion whilst you're trying to maintain it, like telling other people, I'm dreaming, I know I'm in a dream, blah, blah, blah. If you're waiting for them to kind of react and argue with you, you know that that's not something that should normally happen, it can collapse the dream on itself. It needs to kind of make sense to you rather than you try and fight it. So if you try to argue with what's going on rather than just be a part of it, it will fall apart.
Yeah, because I know whenever I go, I know I'm dreaming. This is a dream, but go on. Like somebody's talking to me and I'm like, I know this is a dream, but sure, go on. Tell me what you're going to tell me. Then they turn, like their faces contort and they become like demonic looking.
All right. Okay. Maybe that's just because it's something you're afraid of. So that's what you're expecting. But okay. So GT just said like lucid dreaming means you're aware that you're dreaming. Yeah. It's that you're aware it's that you're aware that you're dreaming. Yes. But more importantly, that you can control every aspect of it.
Yeah.
You're not just along for the ride and like, oh, I know I'm dreaming, this is a dream, but it's that you can fully control it. One of the biggest things when people know that they're getting better at lucid dreaming, there's usually common tropes that people have. One of the most notable ones is that you can fly.
Yeah.
People fly in their dreams. But the way they know, this is one of the examples that they use of how good are you at lucid dreaming, is that when you're new to it, or when you don't really know how you lucid dream, but it's just something that happens to you quite often, when you try to fly, you feel like more like you're floating. You can't really control it. You try to fly, but you're kind of like just drifting around and being carried by something. When you're a very good lucid dreamer, when you're active at it, it's that you can fully control what you're doing. It's that you're fully able to do everything that you want in it, and you're kind of controlling every aspect of it. So that's the difference. That's when you take full control of it. That's what people who keep regular dream journals and stuff like that, they get better at it over time.
Yeah. I remember like when I first started doing that, like it was really hard to fly. Like you'd kind of like go off and I'd feel like kind of like goofy. Like I'm not really in control. And it's kind of like I'm going the wrong way. I'm like, no, I want to go this way. And then it takes me the other way. And I'm like, trying to, it just seems like you're in Harry Potter or something. That's like really ridiculous. And then when I got better at it, or just like, I don't know, for whatever reason that night or those nights I was better at it, I could just be like, and I'm going to go here. And like, I would just be very fast and very controlled. And I could move fast and like, kind of like a bird or a hawk or something, like very fast and move around and go wherever I want. And I remember like flying in restaurants and weird shit. Anyways.
Oh, and another thing that GT is saying, like, yeah, you can control this. You can literally just make everything happen. You can do world building, everything. Whatever you imagine. I want a Lamborghini, and I want to just drive around Lamborghini. Yet you can make that happen. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to whatever. Like, just make anything appear. Like, I want to be on a, some perfect desert island, and whatever. You can do all of that stuff. Just make it all happen. Create it however you want to create it. The more, like, if you read a lot of books about it, there's ways that you can also kind of lull yourself into it. A lot of people usually have a starting point for their lucid dream. When they go to sleep, like Kat said, you prepare yourself what you want to dream about. Sometimes people visualize themselves in a specific place that they've kind of created, and then they'll know that when they're there, they're in their dream. But the important thing is how you recognize that you're in that dream, because your brain will play tricks on you. It doesn't want you to know that you're dreaming, because all it's doing is it's sifting through stuff, and it wants you to be kind of as unconscious as you can be, so that your mind rests while it's kind of processing everything that's occurred and filtering out all the garbage. So you'll need to be aware that this is a dream. And most of the time you'll realize, and this is why I said it, that the best trick to do is to write on your hand that you're awake, and make it a habit that you check your hand and read the individual letters regularly. Because once you start doing that, you'll realize how crazy it is. Because the first time I started noticing that, I was like, what the hell? And I actually said to a friend of mine that was in the dream, I said, can you read this? And he was looking at the hand, he goes like, yeah. And he said to me, like, it says that you're awake. And I was like, yeah, but like, can you read the individual letters? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, it doesn't make sense to me. And that's when I realized I'm fucking dreaming. Because when I tried to look at, I remember I was trying to look at the A in the am for the I am awake. When I looked at that A, it looked like some weird hieroglyphic symbol shit. And I thought when I read my hand, it says I'm awake. But when I read the individual letters, everything started morphing, because some people say it's because that logical part of your brain isn't working while you're unconscious, while you're sleeping. So it can't form the characters that you recognize. But the other side of your brain is trying to make it make sense. So when you read the whole thing, when you're just looking at the words in your hand, you think it says that you're awake. But when you try to focus on the individual characters, your brain can't render that when you're in a dream state. So everything kind of morphs and looks like this bizarre symbol stuff. It's like AI. It's like when AI tries to create letters. Have you ever seen that? And it doesn't look like normal letters. Have you noticed that? Kat?
Oh, sorry. For some reason, like it went on mute. But yeah, I was gonna say AI looks like a dream world.
Yeah.
Like sometimes there'll be like an extra hand or an extra, if you like really look at.
Yeah, no. But what I'm saying is, if you try to get AI to create like some street with like shops and signs and shit, the signs like don't have letters. It's some weird symbol shit. It's like that. It's actually like that when you're in a dream, because it doesn't understand those characters. It just makes shit look like weird symbol kind of glyphs and shit. It's bizarre.
Anyways, let's finish the dental stuff, because there's other stuff I want to talk about. So the vitamins and minerals you need to grow healthy teeth and gums are vitamin K2, which you can find in grass-fed butter, natto, and liver. Vitamin D, which is critical for calcium absorption. You get that from the sun, or you can get supplements. Vitamin A, which you need. It's very essential for enamel and the gum tissue. And you can get that from liver or cod liver oil. And magnesium, you need magnesium for everything. You need that for enamel. You can get that from pumpkin seeds, dark chocolates, leafy greens. I say just take tons of magnesium every day, because it's the best supplement. Look up what kinds of magnesium, so you don't take the ones that just make you go to the bathroom. Take the ones that you can use for your brain and for your body. Next is obviously calcium. And then phosphorus is a huge one that works with the calcium and that can rebuild your teeth with the calcium. So you need both of those. And those are found in meats, eggs, and fish. Please stop using Colgate toothpaste. Yes, immediately. Okay, so what are you going to do instead? Avoid nasal breathing, mouth tape. All right. Chew real foods. Chew evenly on each side. All right. That's going to signal bone growth, saliva production, raw carrots, meat with the bone, tough greens, pull, tear, chew. Do that every single day. Oil pulling, at least 10 minutes, but you should be doing it for 20 minutes. Use coconut oil. Sesame seed oil is a little estrogenic, so use the coconut one. Just swish it around as hard as you can between your teeth. And then you can use remineralizing powders. Now, hydroxyapatite, there's different kinds. You have to look online which is the safe. It's nano, non-nano, I don't remember, but one of them is good, one of them is bad. And you don't want to use it too much because it can actually, with overuse, make your teeth brittle or take the enamel away. You can use clay-based paste or whatever. There's like a primal life something. It's like a tooth powder. Go look at that. Mouthwash. This is what you're going to use for your mouthwash. We already talked about mouthwash, so let me go back. Where is it? Okay, so you need there are gum serums that you can get. They're like gum oils, and you put that in at the end and directly on your gums, like 8 drops or something like that, and you swish that around with your mouth to get around all your gums and around like the roots of your teeth and everything. And that usually has clove, neem, things like that. So you do not want to use any sort of commercial type of mouthwash, but you do want to make your own mouthwash. And again, you could use just green tea. Green tea, put a little bit of clove drops of oil in there, and you could use that, or use a gum serum, and then at the end, after you use your mouthwash, which would just be green tea, swish that around. No sugar, obviously, because that would ruin the effect. You got to have plain old astringent green tea. Avoid acid and sugary drinks. Don't drink anything sugary or acid. And if you do, you can add things like milk to make it less acidic. That is why lattes are better than black coffee. Black coffee is going to destroy your enamel. The milk solids will help lessen the blow, so you'll be a little bit better off, but still you need to remineralize afterwards. Other things, tart foods, like I had freaking tamarind, just a freaking tamarind. It's very healthy for you, but it eats your enamel like nothing else. It is so terrible. Even though I love a tart fruit, I can't have it anymore because it just eats my enamel so bad. It's so strong. So yeah, cod liver oil, butter, animal fats, organ meats, fermented foods, raw dairy, bone broths. That should give you most everything. Let's see. Chewing. You can look for, there's some tree resins that are good. They help stimulate the gums. Look into which one of those are really good. Burnt animal bones or eggshell powder is really good for calcium-rich paste. So you can look for paste that have that, or make your own. Any sort of like clay, charcoal, salt, crushed. There's some with crushed sea shells, and those are good to alkalize and polish the teeth. Avoid anything that breaks them down. Don't use seed oils or synthetic additives. Nothing with citric acid should be in your body. Most things have citric acid. So you're going to make your own mouthwash. Make it green tea, and then use a gum serum. Let me look this up because you guys are asking too many questions. I'll find a brand that I know is decent. What's it called? Tooth powder. Okay. All right. So a good one is called Primal Life. That's fine. Yeah. Primal Life powdered mineral toothpaste. And what does it have in it? Let me see. Make sure. It's got different mineral-rich clays, baking soda, peppermint, flavored essential oil. So like, yeah, nothing bad. This one was fine. I had this one for like a while. I like it. There's different flavors. Also, I don't know why this didn't come up when I was doing my research, but I know this from before. The reason why toothpaste is usually peppermint or spearmint or whatever flavored is because when they first started marketing toothpaste and mouthwashes and all this crap, people were like, it doesn't feel like it's doing anything, right? They're like, I'm just wasting my time on motions. So they're like, let's add something that irritates the gums, right? The peppermint and the spearmint, all of those oils are made to irritate your gums so that it feels like you're doing something, right? So you do not need any peppermints and all that stuff. That's literally irritating your gums. Think about what that does long term. You do not need to irritate your gums. So you can get a different flavor or no flavor. You don't need that. You can just get like essential oils that are healthy for your mouth, like licorice or freaking clove or neem or something like that. You don't need these stupid peppermints and all that crap. Yeah, clove or fennel seeds to freshen your breath. That is true. You can just get those and you can literally chew on those and you'll get fresh breath. There's also like an old wives' tale, like you used to get strawberries. They have to be obviously organic, wild strawberries. Now I don't know what the hell's wrong with the strawberries. They're not even red inside. They're white. So you would get the old-timey strawberries and you would brush your teeth with them. Oh, the other thing is, do I need a toothbrush? Toothbrushes are a pain in the ass because yes, it makes it easier to brush your teeth with a toothbrush. Yes, you are getting microplastics and PUFAs and all that shit in the toothbrushes. But then we have the problem with those bamboo so-called toothbrushes. They use nylon bristles, which are like way toxic. They destroy your gums. They will cut your gums and then make them more and more recessed and sensitive. So like I'm stuck between, I don't want to use something toxic, but all the alternative ones are just toxic too. Like it was like it used to be made out of like some sort of like animal hair or something, or like a fiber, and we don't have that option anymore. So there's really no such thing as a natural, safe toothbrush. So
No, but you can limit the risks pretty well. If you get yourself a smart toothbrush, if you get yourself a smart electric toothbrush, Oral-B do a really good one, right?
Yeah.
The main thing is that any of those modern toothbrushes, like Kat said, are going to have certain man-made elements to it. And the major thing that you want to be aware of is whatever material you're going to be brushing your teeth with, you're not going to be doing one that's going to cause too much damage to your teeth, right? You want to get an effective cleaning regime, but at the same time, not damage your gums, not damage your teeth. And most of those smart ones, like the Oral-B ones, will tell you if you're brushing too hard. So it's an electric toothbrush, but if you're putting too much pressure on the tooth, it will tell you it's too much pressure. You've got to relax. And if it's too weak, you're not putting enough pressure on, you need to be in the sweet spot. So like one of them, I think, will buzz if you're pressing too hard. And if you're too weak, it will kind of do it again. Also, I think it will have the red light, green light, blue light to tell you like where you're in the perfect spot with how you're brushing. So in a way, like, yes, they contain microplastics, but the main problem is you don't want to have a synthetic material that's going to cause damage to your teeth, damage to the enamel, because you're brushing too hard. And if you're not using an electric toothbrush, it's hard to know if you're brushing too hard or if you're not brushing hard enough. If you've got an electric toothbrush that's giving you feedback, you're going to know that you're brushing the right amount of time, that you're cleaning properly, that you're not kind of being too abrasive on the tooth. So like, yeah, certain times, like Kat said, you can't avoid those the bad things that's kind of mass produced that contains microplastics, but there's a way around it, and I think that that's probably the smartest way around it.
All right, I found this one. It is a horsehair toothbrush. So this one will give you no microplastics, and because I don't really like the boar hair ones as much, but maybe the horsehair is better. So you guys can try this one, because you don't have to brush your teeth really well every single day, especially if you've had just unprocessed foods. no sugars, nothing like that day, you can get away with a nice, soft, bristle, natural toothbrush. You don't have to every single day scrub the shit out of your mouth. You don't need to. Especially like if there's nothing stuck in your teeth. Like, and I would just say, forget about popcorn, never have that again. It's trash. Because I don't know how you can live without, very strong flossing after popcorn. So it's like, I don't feel like that's worthwhile. So anyways, Primal Life Organics Dirty Mouth Tooth Powder. Really great. You can make one. It's like kaolin bentonite clay. You just have to find them that doesn't have any toxins or fillers in it. And then you can actually put your own, like separate, like have like a little dropper bottle with the essential oils and like a carrier oil that's safe to eat or something like that. You can make your own stuff. You do not need to freaking buy some expensive bull crap. Make it yourself. Source good ingredients. You can also look up with ChatGPT. I need to make my own completely natural, completely safe tooth powder. Give me some recipes that will not strip my enamel, that will not recede my gums, and that will help remineralize. Blah, blah, blah. So do the oil and the tooth powder separate. And of course, mouthwash is going to be green tea. There you go, you guys. I mean, what more do you want? You need floss, you get the silk floss.
Let's be honest. Some people are not going to want to go through making all that shit for themselves.
Okay, so then buy it. Primal Life. There it is. It's pre-done. Pre-done. All right. And avoid really low pH acidic foods like tamarind, citrus, vinegars, sour berries, at least by itself. Have it with something else to raise the pH so you're not like ripping off your enamel. Yeah. The next you're going to, let's see. I think
one thing I will say for people who aren't like hippies and don't want to make all that shit themselves and don't want to buy some hippie shit, but they're like, but I want to avoid Colgate. Is there a better toothpaste?
no.
If you're looking at some mass-produced shit, I have to give a shout out to one of them.
No.
Yes.
What?
Euthamol. Euthamol toothpaste is actually pretty good. It does contain some ingredients that are a little bit
Spell it.
EUTHYMOL.
Okay, let me look because it's not the same what you guys have in Europe.
Okay, so the thing is that the European Commission tried to ban Euthamol because and the minute those people try to ban something, it's good. It's like they don't want it out there because it's good shit. It's one of the very, 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 very few toothpastes that is fluoride free. So there's no fluoride in it. Most of the ingredients are antiseptic ingredients and natural oils.
Titanium dioxide and carrageenan. This is terrible for you.
Which one are you looking at? Because the one that we have in Britain doesn't have that.
Yeah, that's the thing. You can't recommend British products because for them to be able to import it, they are forced to add toxins. That's how America works.
Well, if you buy it in the UK,
straight in the UK, and
I think it probably still might have carrageenan, but that's like,
no, everything is different.
What's the problem with it?
Our cereals are different. Everything is different. They're trying to kill us here.
What was the other thing that you said it's got in it that you didn't like?
Titanium dioxide.
Yeah, we don't have titanium dioxide in.
Yeah, because it's illegal over there. Oh, sodium lauryl sulfate. It's freaking SLS. No, you can't eat this. You can't not eat this. You can't brush your teeth with this. This is absolute garbage. Garbage.
But the other stuff is, if you get the UK one, like mass-produced shit is always, like I said, going to have some things in it that's not great. But out of all the toothpastes there, it's got the lowest abrasive index, as far as I'm aware. So it's not gonna fucking strip shit on your teeth, huh?
Like we used to order a Parodontax, but it was the one that was only in Israel. That one is really, really good. So when we had people who lived there, they would ship us like boxes of toothpaste. But we can't find, we have the same brand. It looks the same on the outside, but the ingredients are completely different in the US. They're trying to kill us. So anyways, guys, be very careful. Don't get pre-made toothpaste, get tooth powders, and don't go all in on the hydroxyapatite. You're going to do that once in a while because too much can also make your teeth brittle over time. So you're going to cycle it in and out. And skip fluoride. You don't need it. It was a scam.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I wouldn't risk fucking something that's gonna make your teeth brittle, even for a little bit. Why? Fuck it.
Yeah, I mean, just if you just get like the good food in your diet, the phosphate, the all that stuff, vitamin D, vitamin A. Look, okay, this is what you need for your teeth. All right. Fermented something, phosphorus and calcium, vitamin A. You can have cod liver, vitamin D3, go outside, get some animal fats, K2, grass-fed animals, organ meats, fermented foods. That's all you really need. That's what your teeth are made up. Because remember, all the remineralization happens in the saliva. So you cannot remineralize if you don't have lots of saliva. So if you're taking stuff that ruins the saliva in your mouth, figure it out and try to do something else so that you can get your saliva back. That's the only thing that's going to remineralize and keep your teeth healthy. And swoosh your saliva everywhere all the time and keep your mouth closed at night. You should be good. Silica and zinc help rebuild the tissue. Omega-3s will help if you have inflamed gums. Take a lot of omega-3s. CoQ10s will promote healing again. If you have any sort of like gum issues, this is what you need. Vitamin C for gum issues. D3, K2. That's going
And
to
throw
help.
in Silica Plus. Silica Plus is a great fucking supplement for everything.
What
Good
is
for the
that?
teeth, good for the hair, good for the skin, good for the fucking nails, everything. Silica Plus is great.
Yes. Oh, and I have a thing. What causes other things that cause gum recession? Aggressive brushing, scrubbing side to side. You're supposed to be scrubbing each one away from the gums. If it's on the upper teeth, you're going down. If it's on lower teeth, you're going up. Grinding, clenching at night. Make sure you're not doing that. Get rid of your stress. If you have parasites, deal with that. Any sort of jaw pain or whatever, deal with that. Mouth breathing, don't do that. Nutritional deficiencies, all the stuff I mentioned before. Toxin, heavy oral care products, anything with SLS, fluoride, alcohol, don't touch it. None of those things are good for your teeth and your gums. Yeah, let's see what else. Mouth tape, blah, blah, blah. Oh, finger massage with a gum serum. You can get those online. Primal Life has a good one that I use. Also, another thing, bonus natural things. You can use aloe vera gel on your gums, massage that in. Green tea rinse, that's going to be your mouthwash. Neem oil or neem powder, you can swish and spit with that. A myrrh tincture, you can use that, not an oil-based one. I mean, not an alcohol-based one. So an oil-based one. Yeah. So that is everything for your teeth. So now you know exactly what to do. And I have another topic. Anything else you want to talk about the teeth before we move on?
Nope.
Okay. All right. So this is a hoe that has pissed me off. Okay. How do I? Here we go. Here we go. Okay. Oh. All right. All right, so let's listen to what this terrible person has to say.
Hate to call out my own party, but the young girls on the right promoting this like Tradewife bullshit. I just want to make sourdough for my husband. That's great. I'm all for it. I promote traditional values. I understand. I have been working since I was very young. I don't really plan on stopping working. I suggest you find a hobby that makes you money. But you guys, guess what? Guess what, baby girl? That lifestyle working out, a man, a provider, you just get to sit at home, bake bread every day, slim to none. I would say none that's going to work out for you, or quite literally anyone you know. You're actually setting yourself up for failure, because it could not be easier, if that's what you're going to pursue, to be trapped by a man. Okay? Also, let's bring some other things to the table besides sourdough. Guys want to be mentally stimulated as well as physical, okay? But I'm just like, please, you guys are too young to be promoting this.
Do we?
Oh, by the way, it's cringe. You guys hate to call out my own party.
Okay. So what do you think about this hoe?
Oh God, it's just I can understand that most guys with a brain who are kind of men of value, who know that they've got options out there if they want to kind of settle down when they decide they want to settle down. A cliched trad wife is going to be immediately more appealing than this girl is. Most of us are going to be like, no, I mean, I can understand that the kind of cliche trad wife is a bit annoying, because most of us men get suspicious pretty quick when we see that this shit has become a trend.
Yeah.
We will immediately think, is this girl genuinely, was she raised that way? Is this what she believes? Is she just copying what her mother and her grandmother did? If she's living in some rural Italian part of the world, right?
That's a
if she's in some little kind of rural Italian town, then I can believe she's just acting the way she was raised. This isn't some put on thing. This isn't a gimmick. This isn't her trying to trap a dude. So it's okay. But if I'm seeing, like, in kind of London or New York, some girl who's like, I just like to make sourdough and do this, I'm like, bullshit. You saw this shit online. You're trying to trap a guy. You're playing the trad wife role. The minute you get a ring on your finger, all of this shit's going to stop. So we can sniff out that shit. Men can sniff this shit out. They know if it's bullshit. They know if it's genuine. And no dude's going to kind of like date a girl like that for like 2 or 3 weeks and then be like, let's get married, just because you made him sourdough a few times. So I mean, on the one hand, I kind of get what she's saying, but on the other hand, the advice that she's giving him, instead about like make money and do this, no, and men want to be mentally stimulated, not by our girlfriends.
Look.
That's not what you're there for. You're not there to mentally stimulate us. We'll have conversations with our guy friends. We'll talk about shit with our guy friends. You're not there to. I'm not looking to have a philosophical conversation with a girl I'm about to fuck. I want to know that you're not a moron. I want to know that you're smart, of course. Yeah. It means more to us to have the same goals, right?
Yeah.
To have the same values, right? Those things in common, yes, you want to have, right? If I see that you're like, okay, the red pill guys out there and the more modern guys who are like, no, I'm the breadwinner, right? And your job is to kind of like cook, clean, do this, have babies, right? That pisses me off also just as much. Okay, we at some point, I mean, okay, I know there's people out there who love Andrew Wilson and the stuff that he promotes. Like, we live in modern days. Okay, you can't just keep screaming at the world because you're pissed off that we don't sit around the fire at night and eat the food that we've fucking hunted, and our women are there rubbing our feet. Right? We don't live in that world anymore. I'm sorry, times have fucking changed. Get the fuck over it, accept it, understand that women are going to want to make money. right? If you don't
Whoa,
want
whoa,
your
whoa.
woman to make money, what?
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Speak for yourself. Go
Well,
on.
no, but look, I'm just saying, if you're the kind of guy that wants the woman to sit at home and do this, because I hear guys bitching and fucking moaning and complaining
Mhm.
that they're a high value man. They rate themselves as at least an 8 or a 9 out of 10. They're making 6 or 7 figures. They're doing this, they're doing that. And like she still wants to work, man. She still wants to do this. I want to be the breadwinner. She needs to sit at home. She needs to raise babies. She needs to do this. Like, I wanted to give up her job and she's not giving up her job. It's like if you genuinely want her to be a stay-at-home wife and to give up her job and she's not willing to do it, there is something wrong with you.
Yes.
There is something wrong with you. Okay?
And I know
Now,
what it is.
9 times out of 10, what it is it's that they're lording their wealth over the woman, and they want the woman to know that, like, everything that I can provide for you is conditional. It's conditional on you making me happy. It's conditional, and the woman knows that the minute she gives that stuff up, the minute she gives up her
Gives
career,
what up?
if the woman has a career and she's
Yeah.
not happy to give it up,
Yeah.
she wants to carry on working. And because I hear a lot of guys complaining about this shit, saying like, I want to be the provider. I want us to settle down. I want us to have a family. I want us to do this. I want to do it. And she needs to be a stay-at-home wife, make me happy. They're either a lawyer. I know one guy who's a banker. I know 2 guys who are lawyers. I know another guy who he does some things that's not quite legal. But anyway, these guys are all making like 6, 7 figures, right?
Mhm.
And they've already got minimum. I think the guy with the least amount of money's got like nearly 3 million in the bank.
Mhm.
So they're all very well off, but none of them are happy because none of their women want to give up their jobs. They don't want to give up their jobs. They want to carry on working. And I'm like, this is really weird, because most guys that I know who are in the same boat as you, their women are having babies. They've had one couple I know have had 2. The rest of them have got like 4 and 5. And the women happily gave up their jobs, and they really couldn't be happier. And they're great families. I know them. I'm good friends with these people. And I know that these people are in loving relationships, genuinely loving relationships. They get along great. The difference that I see with most of the people that are coming to me now complaining that they're having this problem, their wife doesn't want to give up their work, wants to carry on earning money on the side, even though she doesn't have to, is these tend to be younger men. And they have, as soon as they got their qualifications, they bought into this thing of, I need to go to the gym. I need to be ripped. I need to be making money, and I'm going to go out and I'm going to find myself a wife and blah, blah, blah. And she's going to be sitting at home and she's going to be raising my kids while I'm out there making money. This is not a loving relationship. And it's not going, and some people will be like, oh, fuck the loving bit, right? She's just going to be making me babies, and we're going to repopulate the world. I'm like, no. That isn't how you build a relationship, especially if you want her to make the sacrifices that you're expecting, because there is very little trust among younger people today. The polarization between men and women is higher than it's ever been.
Yeah.
There's very little trust from women to men nowadays.
Yeah.
And not to mention that there's also little trust from how the guys perceive women. They just think like, I want to know what your body count is. Are you a virgin? If you're not a virgin, how many men have you been with? All this kind of stuff. Like, men don't trust women, and they will immediately lose respect for them the minute they find out how many dudes she's been with. So straight off of the bat, so many of these young guys have been conditioned to think that if she's not a virgin, immediately the guy thinks in a way that they're settling for her. I'm settling for you, and therefore you need to be lucky that you're with me. And I'm telling you straight off the bat that I want you to quit your job. And that means that you're going to be financially tied to the dude. How can you expect a girl who doesn't even trust you yet, or who's been conditioned to not trust men, get, number one, disrespected off of the bat just because she's not a virgin, and number two, give up her job and her livelihood. Especially if you're living, I mean, if you live in London, I know it's similar in America. If you haven't worked for a year, it's very hard to get a job that's going to pay you a good amount, because you've got a missing period on your CV. You haven't worked for a year. Well, good luck trying to get a job. Good luck trying to get you a job that's going to pay you above minimum wage, especially in London, because the market is fierce out there. So if you genuinely think I can support my family off of my paycheck alone, and I want my wife to give up her job and raise a family at home, straight away that needs you, especially if you're a young couple today in the West, where you have all of this kind of crazy fucking feminism on one side of the aisle and the RP on the other side of the aisle, both polarizing the sexes against each other. Straight off of the bat, you've got a lot of bridge building to do. You need to establish a lot of trust. You need to make them think that, and this is the difference I see between the couples that have done this and the couples that have failed to do this because the women don't want to give up their job. You need to make the woman feel that this isn't something that you're going to dangle over the head like the sword of Damocles. That at any point, the moment you get pissed off, the guy isn't going to be like, bitch, I paid for all of this. Because the moment kind of element rears its head, the woman is going to be out of there. She's never going to trust you.
Exactly.
But
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I see that mentality exists in a lot of young guys, especially on the RP side.
Yeah,
they like to lord that over, like, this is my house. I paid for this food. The moment you see that, you're giving women a reason to immediately think you're a prick.
It's not that they think they're a prick. It's that they go, oh, this is his. That means, I'm not safe. And if I'm not safe, I have to keep working because at any minute he's going to leave.
Well, yeah, because he's a prick. Because the thing is if it's your desire to be a provider, that you being the provider needs to be a selfless provision thing that you're doing, with the understanding that you're going to raise the kids. So if she raises the kids, that's her job. I've given you children and I'm staying at home and I'm raising the kids. But the moment you get stressed out and pissed off about something, if you're going to lord it over the head that the only reason why she's living, breathing, and eating is because you're the one that's doing that. You're the one that's providing that for her. You don't get to lord that over you, because I've never seen a woman say to a guy, the only reason you've got a son is because I popped him out.
Yeah, that's true.
You don't see women doing that. Women aren't playing that trump card, but guys are doing it all the time. Like, at any point, if I don't get what I want, when I want it, the way I want it, you're out of this house. You're not getting food anymore. I'm going to withhold all the provisions. You don't get to do that. This isn't a fucking bargaining thing. You are a couple. You're a unit. This is the other thing that the young guys get fucked up in their head. There's always this argument about who brings more value to the relationship, the man or the woman, the man or the woman. If that's the question that you're asking, you don't deserve to have a wife. I'm sorry. You don't deserve to have a wife.
Yeah, there's always going to be moments where one of you is...
No, it's not just that. It's if you have a wife, if you're married, you are what?
One.
You're a unit. That's what the ring symbolizes. You are one. There is no me and her. Who brings more value to the relationship? You are a unit. Mm-hmm. You are together. If you start counting what's yours and what's hers and what's yours and what's hers, I'm sorry, you may as well be divorced. That's what happens when a couple divorces.
Yeah.
What's my assets? What's your assets? If you're talking about that before you're divorced, guess what? You're going to get divorced. You need to understand there is no who brings more. Who brings more? You are now one. That's what marriage does. Marriage unites you. That means one. Unit means one.
Yes. And Alex, we're not talking about anybody who makes 40K. We're talking about like couples who one person, the man, can support the family. So you can't make 40K to be qualified for that. Obviously, if you're both in the lower classes, everybody has to work. That's how it's always been. Whether you work inside the home or outside of the home, everybody works. Damon, are you okay?
Yeah. No, I was trying to see what the fuck he was trying to say, but yeah, it doesn't really make any sense.
Yeah, so I do see that there are a few friends, like even my mom, she's married to like a multimillionaire, and I'm like, quit your job. What the hell are you doing? And then she's like, no, because then he's going to tell me I can't go to see you because it's his money. And he doesn't want, me to spend his money to go visit you because I'm like the daughter from another marriage or some shit like that, right? So like these are the type of conversations that go up. So once you start going, okay, fine, I'll support you, but now you can't do this, now you can't do that. And if you spend money on that, there's a fight. Or if you spend money on, like, that's no longer feasible for the woman to do that.
This is the conditional shit that I was talking about. This is the conditional shit that I was talking about. And this is why. So, like, yes, if you're going to get involved in that kind of relationship, the woman needs to know, like, is this the guy? Is this the right guy? And we've spoken about that. The guy needs to know if that's the right woman. There are a lot of women that are going to want to do shit that you're not happy with, but you're like, well, I found one. And this is again another problem with high value guys. If you're a high value guy, why are you settling for the first girl that you found? Like, you need to vet girls. You need to be like, if I'm seeing things that I don't like, if I don't like her friends, if I don't like this, if I don't like that, why the hell are you with them? And I recently had a session actually with a dude who's pretty well off. He's pulling in around about he's an investment banker and he works for a major Hollywood production studio as well. So he's pulling in, I think, around, before tax, I think it's around about 2.7 million. He's been single for about 3.5 years before meeting the girl that he's with now.
Yeah.
And prior to that, he was still getting paid very, very well. And he had, I think, about 5 million in the bank. And he's an okay looking guy. He's not, like, face wise, I'd probably say he's like a 6.
Damon, can you describe high value in the context you're using, because they're having a heart attack?
All right. Okay. So he's got the money. He's in shape. He looks after himself.
Okay. Good looking, lots of money.
Owns his own properties. He's got this guy's got five properties.
Has land.
Yes. Has properties around the world. Educated, he can fall back on other jobs if he has to. So he doesn't need to worry about job security. And he's young.
Okay.
He's young enough to start a family.
Okay, I think they're a little pissed off because that's very unrealistic standard.
Well, yes, if it was an easily achievable standard, guess what, motherfucker? It wouldn't be high value. It would be average value, because everybody has that.
Okay. So
I'm sorry that things might be out of your grasp. Like, the fuck? This is the generation that wants superhero movies where everyone's fucking pathetic because they want to see themselves represented on screen. It's not a fucking superhero then. It's any average dude. Like, this is what's so fucking dumb.
So
there's people out there who can achieve certain things.
Yeah. Can you remind them about, like, how all through history, except for like the 40s to maybe like the early 80s, only like 40% of men ever even had children, and most of them just never continued their genetic line, and that was considered normal. And
it got knocked way back down again after the 40s because of the war.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you couldn't afford to feed your kids. Like, look at war-torn nations. Like,
So he's like, so we're talking about Prince Andrew. God. Okay, look. Let's take it back because we're losing the audience. All right, let's say you make minimum to be able to support a family in a big city in the United States, not a small town. Okay, so you guys are gonna start freaking out in my little town of nowhere. Blah, blah, blah. Look, a big city, own property, be able to afford 2 cars, school for the kids. You know, they're not in the ghetto. All you need
Yeah.
about 200,000 minimum, right? I'm sorry, stop freaking out. That's how much it costs in a big city. Okay, that's not impossible, right? It can be done. So if you're a guy and you make that and still you're a woman is like, nope, I got to keep my little, I don't know, $45,000 a year job.
Well, no.
That's because she doesn't trust you.
In case people misunderstood, I am all for a woman having a job and working. I'm all for that.
I'm not. No.
I'm talking about this newer phenomenon of younger guys who've taken the red pill thing and listened to certain people that think that for them to be alpha, they need to fucking pay for everything. They need to be the providers. And the women need to just stay at home with the kids. Right? Now, I disagree with that. I think that's a stupid way to live your life. I think that's dumb, especially in modern society. I'm like,
I think
no.
we need to go back to that.
Well, look, if we do go back to that, the first way that needs to start is property values. Because you used to be able to afford a house on a single paycheck. But the moment that men convinced women to become feminists and say that it would be in their best interests to get the vote and get jobs so that they could be like men, they would be just as strong as men. This wasn't women's idea. It wasn't women's ideas to do that, to go into the workplace.
People who owned the big corporations because they ran
men convinced women that they wanted this, right? And you had a few stupid, dumb women who started protesting, wanting the vote, wanting jobs, wanting to be allowed into the workplace.
Or a certain demographic we won't get into, but yes.
And as soon as people started buying houses and you had, letting agencies or you had certain banks offering mortgages that realized, wow, people are sharing their paychecks. People are pooling their resources and buying a house using 2 paychecks. The moment they realized that this was something that was becoming slightly more common than usual, they started doubling the values of properties because they realized, why should we charge enough for one person to afford it when now you have men and women working? It happened almost overnight. It was shockingly quick how it happened. And that's when you started having the majority of people not becoming homeowners, but renting. Because if you couldn't find a woman who'd work and you can't afford to buy a house now, the only way you can survive is by renting. And then that drove property values even higher because now it became socially acceptable to not own a place, but to rent one. So if you want to get more women staying at home and not working, the only way you can incentivize that is by saying, if it's proven that that's the case, we will charge you a different value for a home now. But who's going to sell you that? No one. You need to somehow legally mandate that.
Legally mandate what?
God knows if it's even fucking possible to say that we are going to put caps on what you can sell property values at.
Yeah,
we're going to make it a legal requirement to have somebody value your property and you can only sell it at value, which is crazy authoritarian. But
yeah, you can't do that.
But exactly. So how are you going to turn back the time in that way? Like, I'm sorry, but society changes and you have to adapt with those changes. But
it can go back. Okay, so the psyop, let's go back to psyops. The psyops for why they picked women and why they destroyed the family was because they did some studies, I think it was in Japan or something like that, on like a 4-hour, it was a 4-day, like half the day, whatever, work week and productivity, they found that people were way more productive. They were happier, healthier. They did better. Everything was great. But the problem was they spent less money, right? So when they spent less money, because they had more free time to build relationships and friendships and have social clubs and blah, 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 they found people, happy population, spend less money. So it's bad for the economy. So that's why they said, let's extend the work week. Let's make them have to work longer hours. So then they'll spend even more money on their free time. They'll have less wealth. We'll have all their wealth. And yeah. The second thing was they did studies and they found that the hardest working people in companies are middle-aged, unmarried women. Those are the ones you can exploit the hardest because they are in panic mode, in high cortisol fear of like, not because they're usually like single mothers or they're by themselves. They have no one. And these women work the hardest because they have nothing else to fall back on.
The moment a company has employed a woman who is 40 and hasn't had a child, they know that they have slave labor for life. That woman is going to work past retirement age because she has to.
They don't ask for raises. They accept less. They will work 2 or 3 jobs in a panic.
Especially, like I said, if they don't have a child. If they don't have a child, they know that nobody is going to support them in old age.
No,
so
even if they do have a child, but if they're single.
No, the greatest asset to the company is a woman who doesn't have a child, who's 40. It's unlikely that she will have a child after that age. So that's the greatest asset to a company, because if she has a child, you might think, oh, but she has to work hard to provide for her child. But that isn't really true. The bigger motivator is when she knows that she's alone. She doesn't have a man, she doesn't have a child. And she's going to work twice as hard because she knows that look, your pension isn't going to fucking support you in old age. Mm-hmm. Okay? Couples...
We don't have pensions anymore, by the way, in the US.
Well, yeah. And even a private pension isn't going to support you.
We don't really have those.
So if you're not a couple, if you don't have the resources that couples have, which is less likely for you to have those resources if you're single, it's pretty hard. You're going to be working your whole life.
Yeah. The average American is in debt and has no savings, and they have no way to retire, so they'll be working until the day they drop. Good news. So yeah, it's not looking good out there. But anyways, but going back to this hoe, I'm still pissed because she's instilling more fear corn, more like you can't trust men, more men want a worldly woman, and she's equating intelligence with how much money you make or your school, whatever, education, which is not a base. In fact, the most educated people I know are some of the most unintelligent, follow the rules, do what I'm told morons I've ever met in my life.
Well, yeah, I mean, there used to be a difference. If you looked at early feminists, I'm talking about first wave and maybe second wave early feminists, and the complaints they had against men and the so-called patriarchy, even though back then they weren't really so hung up on the patriarchy thing so much as men in general, not the systems that they believed were built for the success of men and the subjugation of women. But if you listened to a lot of their complaints, which were spoon-fed to them by men, by the way,
yeah, of course,
what
the men who own the businesses.
Yeah, the only reason why feminism took off was in part because these women were ill-educated and they weren't very knowledgeable about the things that they were speaking about. Back then, it would be very easy if we had the resources that we have today of easy access to knowledge, statistics, things like that. It would be very easy to kind of allay them of all of their fears and say, look, you're wrong about this. This is actually what's going on. You're mistaken about this. You're making assumptions about that. You could very easily kind of dispel some of the myths that they were fed and say, you may think that it looks like men are oppressing you. You may feel like you're being subjugated. You may feel like men are lording over you and exploiting you, and that you're just merely surrendering to your man.
But wait until you have a boss. I mean,
well, yeah,
difference.
exactly. This is the point. This is the point, because the choice that women made was a choice that they made thinking that the grass is greener on the other side. And very quickly, they realized that's not quite the case. But when they realize how the other half lives, you would expect that they would understand, this isn't all it's cracked up to be. He's not lording over me. Instead, what happened was they got that little taste of what they thought was power. They started making money. And the moment they started making money, they immediately got excited. And they started thinking, oh, look, he's not so special. I can do what he does. That excitement was what threw them into the second stage of feminism. And very soon after, the third stage of feminism. And instead of realizing that they bit off more than they can chew, when they started struggling, they didn't think, maybe I made a mistake. Maybe I need to give this up and get back to my traditional gender role and do what I'm doing. Instead, they got angry with men. And they started blaming the men and saying, we don't have true equality.
Well, that's what they were told to do. That's what they were propagandized to do.
But the biggest mistake that they made with this was what they didn't realize was, just because we give you a seat at the table, just because we allow you into the workplace, okay, and say, hey, look, if you want to live like the other half lives, you can come into the workplace. You can have the vote. You can get jobs. You can start making money, right? You now have buying power as well, right? Because that's when the advertisers started advertising things towards women. They didn't have to advertise to men anymore. They advertised to women because they realized women have that buying ability. What they didn't realize was, if you want to live like this, it doesn't mean that men are suddenly going to get the ability to have babies, right? Yeah. So you can join us. You can come into the workforce. You can start earning a paycheck. You can start, if you want to think that that makes you a stronger woman, you can start behaving like a man and doing what men do, waking up in the morning, going to the office, working, making money, coming home. But you are still going to be the only sex that gets pregnant. And if you want to have a life and if you want to have a family, you're going to have to at some point make that sacrifice. And that is going to require you to suddenly say, all of this stuff that's really excited me and that I'm happy about, I'm going to have to put a pause on that now. And I'm going to have to make a baby. And is my job going to allow me, because don't forget, we didn't always have maternity leave. Is my job going to allow me to go off for a few months and have a baby? Will they accept me back?
We don't have it here in the United States. There's no maternity
leave. So it's like, will they accept me back even? Will I be able to come back to my job? Will that be available to me? Are there some kind of provisions that are going to allow, or am I going to have to find another job? So the moment you started having that women in the workplace thing, all of a sudden you had a decline in birth rates.
Yeah,
because many women who went into the workplace didn't want to have a child.
Yes, a lot of the male feminists are just guys who are like, oh yeah, I want you to work, baby, because we're the same, but then as soon as they have the baby, they're like, well, you have to keep working, and the women are like, but I just had a baby, can I have like a year or two to like recover and take care of the baby? Like, no, because the guys, the husbands will tell them, because they're like, you're just like me, you can do it just like my single mother did it with me, like, stop being lazy. So then they would go, their entire paycheck goes to childcare for a stranger to half-ass watch a newborn child
Yeah.
away from its mother, who can't get breastfed, who can't get that one-on-one time. So then the babies have attachment issues, and attachment issues mean that you're the type of person who, when you grow up, whenever somebody gets close to you, you shut down. If they give you emotions, you have to go away to calm down, to isolate to calm down. That's attachment issues. Or you get hyper clingy and make them run away that way. So either you detach whenever someone gets attached to you, or you become hyper clingy and then they get grossed out by you, because both of them are maladaptions. So that's what you create when you put these children into daycare. So these women are destroying all future generations because they chose these beta. You can work, baby. You're just like me. There's nothing different between me and you. And you're just like, as a woman, you're like, I just literally gave birth. That's a difference. But when you're young, you get propagandized that you're the same, because you don't know what having a baby is.
Look,
It's an idea.
there's couples where both parties work. Both parties will work, right? But there's ways around shit. There's ways. You can have a mother and a father who work, who raise you as a child, and they raise you right, but you still
can't.
see the mother acting like a mother, and you still
Yes,
see the
but
father
the mother
acting
needs
like
to
a
be
father.
home.
Yeah,
For
the
the
mother needs to be home.
For the
Well,
first 7 years, not the first, couple
yeah.
weeks.
So that means that you can have the father pulling double shifts if he has to, if he's not making enough money. The father's pulling double shifts. The mother's taking a couple of years off work, and
Yeah.
she's raising the kid. She's there for the kid. But I agree. The moment you have a stranger raising a baby, it's like, why the fuck are you working extra to have a stranger raise your kid? Why can't you work extra and one of you stays at home and
Yeah.
raises the kid?
And
Yeah,
the
so
upper class that have all the money in the world, they have always had nannies, because people like to bring, what about the nannies? They've always had nannies.
yeah.
When you're an upper class person, you hire a nanny until the nanny dies. It's
So
not
this is the
someone that
craziest
comes
thing.
and go.
One of my friends growing up was like, you would say like uber wealthy, right? You'd say he's
Yeah.
part of that elite society, right? You know how fucked up it was for me when I went to his place for a sleepover, right?
Mhm.
We were about, I think, 13 or 14, something like that, right? And he lived in just disgustingly opulent place, like
Mhm.
just so fucking unnecessarily big. And it didn't feel like a home. It was beautiful. Like it nowadays, if you said to me, hey, look, if I gave you that property, would you want to live there? I'd be like, that's a fucking awesome place to live. I don't want to live there. But guess what? It's a disgusting place to raise a family. It doesn't feel like a home. It's like the kind of place that you'd expect Tony Stark to like have a fucking party at, right? It
Mm.
does not feel like there's any kind of like warmth there for a family, right? But that's where my friend lived. He lived there, and he had an older brother who'd already moved out and I think he was living either with a girlfriend or maybe he was in university, I forget.
Mhm.
So it was just the mother and the father. And the father he worked in the legal profession, very, very, very high up in the legal profession, to the point where it meant that he kind of pretty much lived at work. He'd probably be only home like 2 or 3 nights out of the week. And you had the mother as well. And I don't even know what she did. I don't know if she did anything. I don't know if she had a job or not. But one time his father was home, and this was after I'd had a few sleepovers at his place, and I'd known this guy for like 6 years, 7 years, since we were kids. And we were still like I said, about 14 years old. And one time we had a meal where his mother and father were at the table. and I saw him speaking to his dad, and it's the first time I ever saw him speaking to his dad, and I realized this kid calls his father by his father's first name. He doesn't call him dad.
Yeah.
He calls him by his name, and he calls his mother by his name. That fucked me up. I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you people?
Oh, I never told you this, but like my dad's nanny was also his wet nurse. So,
gross.
yeah, yes. That's how it was. And if you're really wealthy. So she, breastfed him, was his basically like mother figure. And when he like talks about her, he like starts hysterically crying as an old man. But when he talks about his mother, it's like casual, like no big deal.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
Oh. He just wants to say hi.
It's Steve. Yeah, Kat told us that you might not make it to the stream. I don't mean like in life.
Yeah, he can't hear you.
Okay.
I have to plug in his ears. Yes, of course. On Discord. So anyway, so like whenever I think about like how, you can just outsource parenting and motherhood, I think of what happened to my dad. I'm like, then you're not the mother. You're basically saying, hey, I'm going to pay you to be the mother. Now you're the mother. But if you can't afford to keep them for the entire life of that person, you've literally got a surrogate mother and then like ripped it from the arms of an infant.
Oh, Kat, can you please play that coffee commercial thing that I sent you?
Where did you send it?
Oh, a while back. It was like, we're talking weeks now.
Coffee commercial.
Coughing commercial.
I think it was Maxwell House or something like that.
Oh my gosh, I don't remember.
Just check your Discord. I sent it to you a while back. It's the link to the coffee commercial.
I can't. I'm going. Okay, here we go. Copy.
Since we were talking about early feminists.
Yes.
The good old days. The good old days. Steve, watch this advert. Tell me what you think.
Is it going to give me a coughing fit?
Oh no, I picked the wrong link. Hold on.
Yeah, that was the one with the
Okay.
that stuff.
Just imagine this advert being shown today. Imagine how many liberal brains would just melt.
Oh my gosh. He can barely stay like alive. Hold on. No, we can't mute. Here we go.
First house nearly never got built. My wife was so bent on helping the builder. Woman, I said, leave that poor man alone and make us some coffee. Not that kind you've been buying either. Instant Maxwell House coffee. Red jar, good to the last drop. Maxwell House. The instant that tastes like coffee. Be a good little Maxwell housewife, and we'll be happy here for a long time. Maxwell House coffee. Instant and ground.
It's brilliant.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that would not go off today. Hell no.
Oh my god. I can imagine so many liberal women opening their wrists.
Well, I mean,
Be a good little Maxwell housewife. Shut up.
Shut up and make some coffee. At least he didn't say shut up and make some coffee, bitch.
I love the beginning when he goes, woman, I said. Just bring it. I'm gonna start off all my stories like that from now on. Woman, I said. Fucking brilliant. They need to bring back that advert.
well, okay. Do you need something? Do you have any cough
Steve,
drops?
how come you're sick?
Huh? What?
Has Kat been hogging all of the adrenochrome?
Yes, she has. She didn't give it to me last week. Well, actually, 2 weeks ago. I've had this for 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Kat, woman, run along and find a baby for him to suck the blood off.
Oh my gosh.
I'm glad you added blood to that.
Oh god.
Run along and find a baby for him to suck off.
Oh gosh, don't say that.
Oh my God. Anyways, so I got nothing else for today. Do you got any topics you want to talk about, or we're good?
I think we're done.
Okay, because Steven needs to go to bed because he's
Because
not.
he needs to drink some blood.
Yeah. So, anyways.
He's gonna have a fix of that sweet adrenochrome.
Oh my God.
Mainline it.
Is there anything about teeth that you know, like how to remineralize teeth, or you know any like voodoo priestess?
Wait, were you talking about
we were talking about
hydroxyhepatite?
Yeah. Well, I didn't talk about that specifically, but like what kind of stuff that's natural you can do.
If you are still okay with fluoride, it
No,
happens to be
we're not
in
doing-
green tea.
Oh,
And
green
they
tea
would-
has fluoride, but the
Yes,
natural
It's
fluoride,
organic fluoride.
the real one, not the fake chemical
Well,
one.
but it just doesn't mean that it's it's still fluoride. I'm not sure.
It's not still fluoride. It's different.
It is
Natural
different.
fluoride is different than the byproduct.
But yeah, green tea, very weak, can help with that. Chinese medicine, we say that I was told, and I don't. It kind of makes sense from a
Tiger
different
penis.
perspective. No, you clack your teeth together 100 times every day. Like
That sounds like a bad. Isn't that like teeth grinding?
no, you would. You
Oh,
would be
that's for to make the bones
would
wiggle and then.
It would make the
grow.
bones.
Is that like
Fractures.
microfractures?
Yeah,
Yeah.
microfractures to make
Like
the jaw
jumping
strong.
for like.
So they
your-
recalcify where the
Mhm.
microfractures are.
And I don't know if
Yes.
that's microfractures in the teeth, because teeth can take a significant amount of pressure, and maybe the jaw.
Mhm.
But they say they use that as a way to increase life and longevity. I think it's more like your teeth don't fall out so you can continue to eat.
Yeah.
If anything. And then the saliva that you get from that, you're supposed to swallow. It just, they go off a little, they're going right, and then they go off in a completely different direction.
Look, I'm for that. I think saliva is very important.
Well, it doesn't make sense from any other standpoint. I mean,
I think it
no.
makes perfect sense. Anyways, everyone have a good night. We'll see you next time. I don't know what I'll talk about next week. I'll find some other weird conspiracy
Bullshit.
or something,
Yeah.
some bullshit, some whatever. Maybe Damon can come up with a topic.
He's too busy.
Well, you come up
He's
with a
got to
topic.
lay some pipe.
Okay.
He's becoming a plumber.
Okay.
They
Anyways,
call him
Kat,
Mario.
you don't work, Kat. You don't work. You've got a good few days to come up with an idea.
yeah, but like I'm gonna have my period this week, so I'm just gonna be sleeping.
Let's make an exclamation mark and put it in your schedule.
Oh my God.
Let's talk about Kat's period next week.
Oh yes. So
Period conspiracies.
well, there are periods conspiracies. I mean, there's like
Oh, yeah,
putting
all
on
the
your
things.
face
Yeah,
and
all-
kinds of
okay,
eating
yes.
it.
Okay, look, we are going to talk about period conspiracies.
It's a period piece.
Can you get someone to fall in love with you if you feed them your menstruation blood?
So are you going to dress up as Marie Antoinette when you do this?
Why she did that?
No, so it's a period piece.
Okay, stop.
I think that the topic title should be periods. Are women just bitching and exaggerating?
No, they're
Yeah.
not. They're not. No.
I
No,
don't
I
think
think
they are.
periods. Should women be allowed out in public? That's a better title. That's more
Periods.
realistic.
It's just a nosebleed out of a different part of your body, and they piss and moan so much about it.
No, it's horrible.
Period. Should men be allowed to have this as well?
Oh my God. Do men have them?
Well, there's videos of
Oh God.
them. They have an electric stimulator to simulate a
Period
period
cramp.
cramp.
Yeah. I feel
And
like
let me
unless
guess,
they're throwing up, it doesn't work.
And let me guess, the guys were able to just go through their day without complaining.
No, they couldn't wash dishes.
Yeah, but that's because we don't wash dishes because we're men.
I
my
wash
gosh.
dishes.
Yeah, his mom beat him until he washed the dishes.
No,
That's child
I
abuse.
was beaten for other reasons, not for that. Was I? No.
Were you beaten because you said, "Hey, bitch, this is your job"?
I wish. It would have been fun, though. The look on her face would have been priceless. Well worth the beating.
No. Oh gosh.
Hey, wait, I could do that for Mother's Day. No, I'm just...
Yeah, you should. I'm just imagining Steve like a little Cartman when she's like, "Hey, you need to wash these dishes," and he's just like, "Why didn't you sack my bars?"
Gosh. No, he was a good boy. He was a good child.
I saw all the other children in the family beaten, so I decided to be quiet. I didn't say anything. I didn't say what was on my mind.
Yes. Oh, do you want to see pictures
No,
of Stephen
they
when he
don't.
was young?
They don't want to see this.
No,
they
it's
don't.
Oh,
cute.
They don't.
she already showed it to me.
Yeah.
The only difference is the hair color. The face looks the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
You're
the whole
welcome.
thing.
Steve.
The whole
I
thing
think
is
my
different.
face is wider.
Oh, it is. Trust me. Okay.
Cat
My
sucked
finger-
the life out of you.
My fingers were definitely larger.
What the heck were you doing with your
No,
fingers?
I
All right. Look at
was
how
rock
cute
climber.
you were.
Wait, was I a rock climber? Yes, I was a rock climber.
Okay, here. I
Steve,
have
is
another
that
one.
Steve? Is that a plucked eyebrow?
Yes, my sister.
Oh
held
my
me
God.
down and plucked my eyebrows.
It was the 90s or something.
I had a unibrow, okay? And because of that, I no longer have to pluck at all. It just, there's nothing in the middle.
And this was your dog?
That was a dog that we found, and then I gave it to a friend of mine.
That's a very kind of like Dharma-esque kind of serial
Yeah.
killer look that you've
Right?
got going
That's
on
what,
there.
remember when we met, everybody said that you were a serial killer? And
It
I'd
is kinda
find
like-
out eventually.
Well, I wasn't
I would
black belt.
expect this photo would come with like a piece of paper with some like letters cut out of a newspaper saying like, if you don't pay me this much, the dog is going to end up in the microwave.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I was a black belt in ninjutsu at the
That has
time.
nothing
so I
to
knew
do
how
with the
kill
dog.
people 1,000 ways.
That looks like slightly more affectionate. I'm not worried for the dog in this photo.
But I'm grabbing the dog in a very hostile manner.
Oh my gosh. Okay. And this is
Oh,
this is a cute one.
Look
Anyways,
at my fingers are much larger.
he told us these stories like, oh, I used to be so buff.
And then I looked at
I used to have.
I must
No,
have-
wait, hold on. Let me finish. He told me and the children that he used to have such muscles that he couldn't find pants to wear because
No,
his
I
muscles
couldn't.
were so bulging.
oh,
And then
he's talking about that muscle. Pants don't fit me.
if there's a
How much do you
piece-
bench? How much do you deadlift? I don't need to. I can do a cock push-up.
He's
This is
dying.
not a water thing. It's water coming up.
Okay. Well, he's
Oh,
done.
God.
Water.
So I'll see you guys next week.
Why is he that? Did you make him go down on you while you're on your period?
No,
Is that what it is?
No, we're not even sleeping in the same bed because he does this all night and I can't sleep.
She's sleeping in the west wing.
Yeah.
Okay. So Steve can have the bitches over.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm the bitch is over, right?
Well, you do have the two cats, so basically, yeah, you got two
Yeah.
girls in your bed.
Two
Mhm.
hairy pussies.
It is what it is. Are you allowed to say that on the internet? Stop.
It's a cat.
No.
I'm talking about cats.
Sure.
Can I say pussy?
No, you can't say that. Not
You
on the
can say
internet.
it, Steve. Say it. You're the man. She needs to learn to shut up. Woman, go
Okay.
fetch some Maxwell House.
It's a hairy pussy cat.
Oh gosh. Anyways, have a great night. Hopefully he doesn't get me sick.
Steve, cough right in her face right now.
No.
No, I don't think I'm contagious anymore. My lymph nodes are finally settling down. They're not painful any longer.
Show us that you love your husband, Kat. Give him a kiss
No.
on the mouth.
You guys have a great night and we'll see you next time.
Take care, guys.
Television